I want to talk to you for a while about this pretty amazing and kind of bent phenomenon when you think about it of God fatigue. And you probably haven't heard this term before, but I guess when you think about it, it would probably make a bit of sense. And what I'm talking about, for example, the people that just bang on about God like 24 hours a day, like it's all they fucking talk about. And it's everything, and it's religion, and it's scripture, and it's the whole thing. And everywhere they go, it is God bless you, and so forth. And there is a fatigue. There's like a vacuum in that, because yes, there are other dimensions to them, but there just doesn't seem to be, And so they're just so one-tracked, and there's so little diversity in their social interactions that you kind of avoid it, because you kind of get a bit over it. Because, one, that you can't really talk to them about much else, they don't really want to talk about much else. But two, it's actually the topic that they're banging on about, because there's just something about the conversation around God that just smacks of religion and smacks of kind of bullshit that we've experienced in our life, or even if we haven't, just the nature of the topic itself. It doesn't seem to have a lot of time to keep going, like before the subject gets changed. Like, the topic of God doesn't have a lot of legs, and it can't really be kept up all day. People just want to change the subject after a while, and you get really over it and you start avoiding that stuff. And I find that really interesting, because I've always been the same. I grew up the same, and I kind of got a bit over that conversation and people just, as I would determine it, pushing their agenda, almost quote. That is how I saw it, and I know that is how pretty much everybody sees the God thing, that someone is just pushing their agenda, and yes, you got a right to your beliefs and stuff, but don't push your God shit onto me, I'm not interested, I don't want your religion and stuff. And yeah, totally, man, fair enough, whatever. All of that is true and cool beans. Full stop. Next sentence. So how you going? How you going in your life? How you going in your heart? Are you doing all right? Are you feeling strong and empowered and engaged with all things? Are you in a state of grace and joy and peace much of your day? Are you happy most of the time? Are your relationships healthy and healing and positive? Are your choices clear and easy, and allowing your mind to be in a state of ease and a state of rest? Is your life just in a state of ease and your manifestation skills pretty much on point? Because if they are, and if all of that is going on for you, then I would say, yeah, bravo, and pretty much continue to ignore any conversation that relates to God, the Creator and the Divine, that isn't working for you. Because it is pretty evident that, yeah, you're cool, man, and you don't really need that. But I find it ironic that quite often the people that are the most vocal in saying, yeah, look, fuck you, God boy, and you can take your God and your book and so forth over there, and wear cool beans, but just don't put it in my face, thank you very much, are usually the people who are experiencing the least joy, in truth, and the least peace, and the least connection and ability to connect, and the most frustration over this lack of connection and ability to connect. A disheartening of not knowing oneself and not knowing one's function and place in the world, not knowing how to hold, recognise or maintain a state of peace and of forgiveness, and all of these things. And it occurs to me that the one thing that folks of this level of gravel in their heart are most adamant about are rejecting the one pure source that will alleviate all of this and then sometimes forever. it is ironic that God fatigue is such a present phenomenon that you would probably know what I'm talking about just by saying the term, because it is exhausting being around the Goddies, you know. But I just want you to think about that for a moment, and why that is, and when someone's banging on about God just for a bit too long in your space and you start to get a bit over it, what in you is getting a bit over it? Is it just that they're one-tracked and that you can't really talk about other stuff? Or is it, and I would challenge you to have a think about one or the other, do you really have a problem with the topic? Because if you have a problem with the topic, and it's not just that you can't get another fucking word out of this person other than God or their religion, then really the problem's yours. And while your first response will be, yeah, look, I hear you, but no, it's really the other person, and just that they won't shut up. I'd almost prematurely call bullshit and say, please look again. I'm using this as an example, as a way to highlight one of the most obvious areas in our life that shows us where God sits for us in 2019. And God sits in a pretty weird place in our life in 2019, or at least for many of us, you know. It's just not even really a part of our life for so many people in 2019. And they're the folks that seem to be the most aimless and just the most wandering. It is an honest correlation that will not hurt you to see if that connection is being made in your life. If you find that your sarcasm buttons get pushed relentlessly around the God people and stuff, and you take great joy in saying, fuck you very much, and this is all ridiculous, or if you do it in a nice way and saying, bless you and cool beans, but just get over there and I'm over it and I'm done, I would challenge you to explore what your deeper resistance to that happens to be, because I'd almost guarantee that you've got a problem with God and you've got a problem with the topic. And it's not that that person cannot diversify their conversation for you. It is your inadequacy that you cannot actually focus long enough on the one conversation that actually means anything and that actually matters and encompasses all other conversations. I would put it to you that it is your deficiency and that you cannot keep up with the Goddies and you cannot keep up with your focus on that conversation because you don't know enough about it. Or challenge. Seriously though, I really think it's true. And I just want you to consider that for a moment. Because God is 100% part of my life and religion is 100% not part of my life. And if you can get that for a moment, you've got to understand that God is the most powerful thing in your life, and you don't need all of the bullshit and all of your previous experiences to ruin that for you. And I'm really here to show you how to reignite and reactivate your relationship to God that has nothing to do with all the rubbish that you know. And so you can go, yep, this is just the most empowering thing for me, and yep, I can actually keep up a conversation for more than an hour without getting bored or distracted like a sleep little human. Anyway, just have a think about that. That is all. Blessings. And if you want to talk about God at any point, I'm open.